buddy. Memories. We all have them, right? We've all got memories in our mind. We've got thoughts. How far back can you go? What's that first memory? Way back for some, right? I remember as a little kid getting in a burlap sack with my dad and going down one of those slides where you just got the little bumps kind of like this, like that. I remember that's my first memory that I can go back. I can go back all the way back to getting in that little thing with my dad and sliding down that little burlap sack. And as my kids have grown up, we have tried hard to create memories for them. We wanted them to have memories of special events and special things that have happened in their life. Back in 2009, we were going to take a cross-country trip. Annual conference was in San Diego, California. And we were just going to get airplane tickets and fly out there. We thought, you know what, it would really be cool to take our kids on a national park trip. 12 national parks over a 3-week period of time. Let our kids see what was out west, because none of us had been west ever in our lives. And so we had this plan, we had this idea. We jumped in a black Chevy minivan, ready for a 6,300-mile journey. And we headed down to the Arch in St. Louis. And if you know anything about the Arch, at the Arch they have an exhibit that's about Lewis and Clark's expedition of how they went out west. And so we watched the movie. We saw the places that the kids were going to see. We got in the van that afternoon and we tore off. Pikes Peak, Garden of the Gods. We went up around to Arches National Park, down past the Grand Canyon. We looked over the edge of Hoover Dam. We went to the giant sequoias and then up the coast of California to the Golden Gate Bridge, where we put our feet in the Pacific Ocean for the very first time. Jenna doesn't remember any of this. Very first time. She was a little back then. And then across the United States, we came back. Yellowstone National Park. We stopped at Wall Drug. Some of you know about Wall Drug, a little shop in the middle of nowhere. We got our Wall Drug mug and went to Mount Rushmore. We walked up to the faces of the presidents, and my son looked at it and said, "Dad, it's just a rock." But we had seen the grandeur of God, and there was nothing man could make that would even be close to what God had made and what we had seen in that journey. Of all of that, if you ask my children the one thing that they remember, it wouldn't be the Grand Canyon. It wouldn't be Hoover Dam or the giant sequoias. Not even putting their feet in the Pacific Ocean. They would remember on that very first day of the trip, we had just left the Arch. We're driving across to Kansas, and it's dark, and a deer comes running across the road and runs right into the side of our van, right into the wheel well. Totally wraps the wheel well around the wheel, destroys the headlight and the headlight casing in the front. Now, it's like midnight when we're driving, and I pull over to the side of the road, and I've got to literally take the front wheel well and pull it apart with my hands to get it so we can drive. Now this is day one of a 6,300-mile journey. And the next morning, we get to a restaurant, and we pull in, and the kids have got this beautiful picture. They're all sitting there looking at the tire going, "Oh." Now, it's like, that was 2009. If you ask my kids what the most memorable moment was on the trip, that's what they're going to tell you. As a matter of fact, once in a while, they'll go, "Hey, Dad, do you remember when the deer ran into us?" And see, rubbing salt in the wound, 3 times when I was on that trip, I got pulled over in national parks with this question: "Did you hit an animal, sir?" Duh, right? I mean, there's no dumb questions, but there was still fur in the fender, dude. Yeah, 1,000 miles back, 2,500 miles back, 5,000 miles ago I hit that deer. And yet that's the memory. In a tapestry of memories, there's this one that sticks out. And isn't it interesting that so often the memory that sticks out is a bad one? I mean, if you think your life is made up of memory after memory after memory after memory, and how often is it the bad memory that surfaces? I'd like to think that we were more than that, but often in all the memories of life, it's the bad one that comes to the forefront. It's the bad one that we dwell upon. It's the bad one we stick with. Pain, hurt, loss, want. A trip to the ER, a painful divorce, a house fire, a sick child, bankruptcy, jail. Forrest Gump may say life is like a box of chocolates, but today life is like a piece of burlap. And every strand is a memory. Every strand is a memory. And some of those memories are sweet, and some of those memories are life-changing, and yet some of those memories are so painful. And Joseph's tapestry was made up of a lot of painful memories. A lot of them. We've been looking now at Joseph's life for 7 weeks. And the first 5 weeks was nothing but pain and suffering. Nothing but pain and suffering. Yeah, there was this one event very early on in the life of Joseph. You probably remember the event. He's the beloved son. There's this one memory of him getting a coat of many colors. That was the good memory. And then the life goes on, memory after memory, and it's being sold by his brothers, heading off in a caravan. Can you imagine what it was like to look in the distance as your brothers got smaller and smaller and the land got farther and farther and farther away? And then he's sold into slavery, and he's lied about by Potiphar's wife, and he ends up in prison in a dungeon, and he's forgotten. There's this tapestry of life events. And for some reason, the Bible goes on for 4 chapters with nothing about bad events, negative events in his life. Not one good, not one good memory, because that's often the way our life is. I'm sure there were times when Joseph laughed. I'm sure there were moments that were good, but those moments are not remembered in the story. Those moments are not mentioned from the age of 17 to the age of 30, not one. Just pain, just suffering, just hurt, just loss. All those things are remembered. And then in this moment, life changed. We talked about the life change for Joseph last week. In a moment, things change. He's down in a dungeon. He's taking care, working in the dungeon, and there's Potiphar, or there's Pharaoh, who's up at the priestly king's house, and he has a dream, and he needs somebody to interpret it, and the cupbearer remembers, and they pull Joseph out, and he tells them, he talks to them about what the dream is, from the pit to the pinnacle, from second in command, from slave to second in command, from a dungeon to a dignitary, rags to riches, eating prison food to now eating at the king's table. He interprets the dream. He tells Pharaoh what he should do. As we said last week, he was put in charge of the land, put in charge of the money, second in command. He got a wife. He began his work. 7 years of prosperity begins. And I began to wonder, what did he do with all those memories? All of those memories. The memory of a pit. What does he do with it? The memory of Potiphar's wife lying. What does he do with it? The memory of a trip to a dungeon. What does he do with it? The memory of being forgotten. What does he do with it? All those events of pain and suffering and loss and hurt. What does he do? The Bible tells us. During this time, before the first of the famine years, 2 sons were born to Joseph and his wife, the daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On. Joseph named his older son Manasseh. For he said, God has made me forget all of my troubles and every one of my father's family. And Joseph named his second son Ephraim. For he said, God has made me fruitful in this land of my grief. The Lord caused me to forget. To forget the pain, to forget the suffering. Not to forget the event. Not to forget the event. Now, if you remember, names mean a lot. Names mean a lot back in these days. A few weeks ago, we were looking at Jacob's family line. If you remember this, Leah has a son. She names him Reuben, which means seen my misery. And Simeon is I am not loved. And Levi is attached. And Judah means praise Lord. These events in the life of this woman dictated the name of the child. And this went on. Bilhah has children for Rachel. And Dan is called God has vindicated me. And Naphtali means I beat my sister. I love that one. I mean, you talk about a lot of pain there. You know, I beat my sister. Finally, I beat her. And Zilpah, who is Leah's maidservant, they get the name Gad. God is good. And Asher, I am happy. And Leah has Ishtarah. God rewarded me. And Zebulun treated with honor. And now when Joseph has a son, he names him Manasseh, meaning caused to forget. That's the literal translation of the word. Caused to forget. Something in the mind of Joseph has been forgotten. And he wants us to know exactly what it was. So he tells us in the passage, God has made me forget all my troubles. All my troubles. That little piece that stands for the well, and that little piece that stands for Potiphar's wife, and that little piece that is about being forgotten. God has caused me to forget my troubles. But here's the reality, right? He still remembered that he went to a pit one day. And he still remembered that he was put in a dungeon one day. And he still remembered the name of the guy who forgot. He might have forgotten, but he didn't totally forget. What was it that he had forgotten? Because we see the same thing with the next part of it. God has made me forget all my troubles and every one of my father's family. Now I'm pretty sure that there wasn't this moment in time when he's going through life and he goes, Gad. Oh, there's Gad. Gad. And Dan. Don't remember them anymore. And then there's Naphtali. Don't remember him anymore. And there's another brother. Do you think those brothers were just thrown into the sea of forgetfulness? He didn't remember their names. He didn't remember that they were brothers. He didn't remember they were born. Did God just take that away from him? It's not the way it works, is it? Because we all remember. We remember. But it's easy to remember the pain of the event. That's really the question we have to ask ourselves this morning. Are we going to remember the pain that was in the event? Because God, somehow or other, God took the event and he stripped the pain from it. He didn't take the event away, but he pulled off of the event that which was painful about it. The pain went away. God will not take the event away, because if you remember, this tapestry that was Joseph's life made him who he was. Every event, every situation, getting thrown in the well was important. Getting sold by his brothers was important. Getting bought into slavery was important. Going into prison was important. Being forgotten for 2 years was important. Every part of his life was important. God couldn't take the memory of those things away, for if he did, Joseph wouldn't be who he was. He was only who he was because of the tapestry of his life. And you are who you are today because of all of the memories, all of the events, everything that has brought you to right now, this very bottom strand. This is this moment in time. And you are today because of everything that has happened to you. But Joseph needed to forget some parts of that. And what he needed to forget was the pain of those events. There was something in the pain and the hurt of those past events that God helped Joseph to forget. And can I just say today, there is probably something in the pain of your events that you need to forget. You could probably today take and attach to this string something bad that has happened to you, some pain, some hurt, some problem, some person. Something that is hindering you. You can attach that right now to the string. And the question is, will you let God peel the hurt off of that string and throw that hurt into the sea of forgetfulness while you let the event change you? While you let the event make who you are? You know, when we go to funerals, we often read the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He restores my soul. He restores my soul. To have a soul restored means the soul must be broken, right? When the soul is broken, we need someone to come and restore the brokenness. And so often when we go to a funeral, we've got the memory of a death. We've got someone has died, and we need God in some way to strip off the pain from that event so we can remember the good, remember the blessings, remember the lifetime of memories we had with that individual. But some people will so hold on to the death that they don't remember all the good. Can I just tell you today, there is a God who wants to strip the pain off of the events of your life. He wants to take that pain, he wants to strip that off those memories so you can be all that you need to be today. And maybe some of you are saying, Aaron, how can that happen? Let me give you 4 ways. Turn your bulletin over today. I want you to write 4 things down this morning. You're going to need these as you move forward in your life. How does God heal painful memories? First of all, you have to trust God will. You got to trust that God will heal your memories. You got to trust that God will heal those memories. I'm going to say this right up front. If you don't believe that God can heal your memories, He can't. Because God is the God who operates by faith, and if you don't believe He can't, He won't do it. He will only do it if you believe that He will do it, if you expect Him to do it. So you got to trust that God will. Now you remember the story of Jesus. Jesus goes to the synagogue. He's beginning his earthly ministry, and they give him a scroll of Isaiah to read. They want him to read this scroll in the presence of these people. Here is what Jesus read in the presence of the people at the synagogue. It comes out of Isaiah chapter 61. Jesus says, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, to release from darkness from those in prison, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow upon them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of the spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of His splendor. They will rebuild the ancient ruins, restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. Aliens will shepherd your flocks. Foreigners will work in your fields and vineyards. And you will be called the priests of the Lord, the name of ministers of our God. You will feed on the wealth of nations, and their riches they will boast. Instead of their shame, my people will receive a double portion. Instead of disgrace, they will rejoice in their inheritance, and everlasting joy will be theirs." Jesus came to bring us that. That's what Jesus came for. To bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, release from the darkest of the prisons, to give you a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of the spirit of despair. God wants to rebuild, restore, and renew your life. Jesus came that you would get free, you would be fed on the wealth of nations, that your shame would go away, that you would receive a double portion of His grace. Jesus wants you to have everlasting joy. Can I just tell you today, my friends, if you're holding on to the pain, it's only you holding on to it because Jesus came to take it away. Jesus came to strip the pain off of your situation, to throw it into the sea of forgetfulness. He came to do that. And if you believe he will do that, he will for you. But it doesn't end there. You've got to reestablish forgiveness in your life. If you really want to find healing for the hurts in your life, there's got to be forgiveness. But Pastor Aaron, these people in Joseph's life, they didn't deserve to be forgiven. I mean, his brothers didn't deserve forgiven what they did. No, they didn't deserve to be forgiven. They deserved the worst. And so do we. We deserve the worst. Do you deserve the forgiveness that Jesus Christ has offered to you? Have you been good enough? Have you done enough good things? Have you given enough? Is your life so good that you deserve to be forgiven for the wretched person that you have been, for the sins that you have committed, for the wrong that you have done? We are not forgiven because we're good enough, smart enough, talented enough. God forgave us in spite of what we have done. And if you want healing for those hurtful memories in your life, you're going to have to forgive so you can move on. Matthew chapter 18, Peter comes to Jesus and says, Jesus, is this enough if I forgive 7 times? And Jesus, in the way he often talked to Peter, not 7, 70 times 7. You may have this memory in your life, and you've got to strip it more than once because it could come back again and again and again. And it may take 490. But there'll be a moment that forgiveness will come. And my friends, you don't have to go this alone. Galatians chapter 6, verse 2 says we need to carry each other's burdens. And some of you today, the pain in your life has been so great. You have so many of these strips, and so many of them are just bad memories, painful events, time after time, when you were a child, when you were a young adult, now as a parent of children and your parents. How many events in your life have all this junk, all this crap tied to them, event after event after event, and all you can see when you look in the mirror is all the pain and suffering that your life has brought. And can I just tell you, if you find yourself in that place today, you need somebody to walk alongside you because you don't need to do this alone. Joe and Sherry are starting a new ministry here about walking beside people and discipling individuals to help them in their faith. 25 people got together this week at this church and started a discipleship ministry. And some of you have got this hurt in your life that is so great, you need somebody to walk beside you and help you to carry that hurt for a while. And there are people here that's going to do that. You don't have to go it alone. But there comes a moment that you've got to receive this healing. You've got to make a decision to receive it. And the question you've got to ask yourself today is, am I ready to receive it? I want you to take that little paper that you have, the little piece of felt. I want you to take and pull off one strand for me, just one strand. A little piece today. Let's just say this is the memories of your life, and this is a bad memory. This is a moment of pain. This is a moment of suffering. This is a hurt. Someone did something to you. Someone didn't do something they said they were going to do. Parent, child, friend, neighbor. One event. And right now you can make a decision what you're going to do with this one event. You can take this thing and you can put it in your billfold. And you can look at it every day for the rest of your life. And you can remember the pain, you can remember the hurt, you can gloat, you can walk around it, you can remember it, you can be a young, angry person and an old, bitter person because you just continue to hold on to this event. You can choose to do that. Ladies, you can take this, you can tie it on the handle of your purse, and you can make sure every day you look at that what's on the handle of your purse, and you can remember. Or you can take and put this around your finger, and you can tie it as a ring, and you can look at it every day, and you can remember. Or you can take all of these events and you can pick every single one of them up today and you can make one of those bracelets out of it, put it around your wrist, and you can carry them around and you can remember the hurt. Or today, you can let God strip the hurt away. You bring it to the altar. You say, God, I was really hurt bad. But today, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. The story is not just a story of a guy by the name of Manasseh. The story is about a guy by the name of Ephraim. Manasseh, the Lord has caused me to forget. But he had a second son. The second son's name is Ephraim. You know what Ephraim means? The Lord has blessed me in the land of my affliction. Can I just say today, you'll never be blessed in the land of your affliction until you found the healing that Jesus offers you this morning. You have to have a Manasseh before you can ever have an Ephraim. You have to find healing before you can ever see your blessing. Some of you today may be blessed beyond reason and you can't see it because your eyes are so focused on that hurt and that pain. So today we're going to sing a song here as we close. And if there's an event you want healing for, I want you to bring that little piece today, that little piece of string, I want you to bring it to the altar. And I want you to lay it up here somewhere. And I want you to give that to God and say, God, I want you to take that hurt. I want you to strip that pain away, Lord. Just strip that pain away from my life. Take that. I'm going to remember the event, but no longer am I going to hold on to the hurt. No longer am I going to hold on to the pain. No longer am I going to hold on to that problem. I'm going to give all that to you, Lord God, and I will let you use that memory to change my life forever. Father, I pray today that this congregation will be filled with people who have the courage to let go of some hurt and some pain. Because, Lord, I believe you want to bless them richly. And they can only do it if you give them a Manasseh